All right, hello everyone. Micah Carter here. Just thanks for coming back to the channel, by the way. But hey, this is just to go through a few finger exercises and the ideas behind them to help you build up, not only some speed, but some accuracy, right? And dexterity, right? Because it's one thing to be able to play real fast, but it's another thing to be able to play real fast and real accurate, right? And to have a good, strong, confident tone when you're playing. So, we can go through a few finger exercises, just a few finger exercises, especially like if you're a beginner. I would suggest, like, at first it's going to feel awkward doing these exercises because you're so, like, barely learning how to play the guitar, maybe, right? It's probably going to feel awkward doing many of them. And I'm only going to go through like a couple so here, but the idea is to go through them slowly at first with the most accuracy and clarity, right? The most accuracy and clarity first. Go slow, even if you have to, and then over time, you're building up the strength in your fingers. Or you come back, you do a session for 10 minutes, you come back, and later on you do another 10 minutes. Maybe you play a bit at one time, yes, but don't strain yourself at one time. Like, especially if you're first starting out, maybe you want to warm up your hands a little bit, stretch them out. Maybe pop your knuckles or whatever you need to do to kind of loosen up your hands so you can play, right? More limber, right? So, but just one real simple exercise to start out with, the most basic, finger exercise for a new person that you can start out with, because you probably don't know very much in the way of scales yet, and it's great to practice scales, but it's great to have good just general finger dexterity. So we're starting out with a real simple exercise, the most simplest thing you could practically really think of. We're going to start out on the first fret of the E string, this low string that's tuned to E. We're going to start on the first fret, which is actually an F note. So maybe you're familiar with that, maybe you're kind of just learning. That's not important. What's important right now is just building up some finger strength and dexterity, right? So what we're going to do is just play the first note. I'm going to go ahead and just play 1, 2, 3, 4, right? You'll notice I'm using a finger pick here. So this is largely for finger pick practice, right? You could do it without as well. You're just playing with your thumb or using your fingers in some ways, and you're practicing that at the same time. You might start out with something simple like your thumb, but at the same time, get used to using the pick as well, right? So take the pick, and when you're picking these notes, you want to use alternate picking, ideally. So you're not just plucking down every note like that. You're plucking down, and then the next note you're plucking up. The next note you're plucking down. The next note you're plucking up. Now when you switch strings, going to a string downwards on the fretboard, going down, you're going to pluck down. When you're going up, you're going to pluck up. Right? Now, it may not be a perfectly strict rule when you're actually playing per se, but for practice sake, you want to be able to do these things, right? When you need to be able to, come up with different ideas as well. Is like, if you're trying to come up with riffs and songs or something, right? But even when you're learning songs, though, of other people's songs, you may want to be able to have these just different dexterity, finger dexterity. So just starting out on this first note, I'm going to play a 1, 2, 3, 4, and like I said, I'm going to go down each string, and like I said, starting out pretty slow, right? Not necessarily trying to go real fast. We're going to build some speed as well, but at first we want to practice going slow and clear, right, and get that dexterity. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, during the time we're doing this, we're also maybe trying to focus on, and it's not necessarily easy to do, especially at first. You might be having a hard time even doing it, but trying to keep our fingers close to the fretboard, right? In their one position. Sorry, I have a bird here that likes to interrupt. But the idea, like I said, is keeping your fingers close to the fretboard, right? So that way you're being efficient and you're able to play faster even as you get better. But like I said, 1, 2, second fret, right? 3, third fret. 4, fourth fret, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. You can play it on the same string too, but let's go down the second string. And I'm going upstroke, downstroke, upstroke, right? Next string, downstroke, upstroke, downstroke, upstroke, right? downstroke, upstroke, downstroke, upstroke, right, on my picking hand. So, and I just keep going down. At first, don't expect to have like perfect timing per se. Just get through it, right? Just get through it one time all the way to the high, or all the way in the bottom, I should say. You know, when I say high, I might mean pitch, or I might mean the top end of the guitar. Or when I say pitch, I might be going high pitched up the fretboard, or going low, going down the fretboard. And that's not the main point of this video, but just for practicality, so you can understand better if I say that. So, but anyway, you know, 1, 2, 3, 4. Not too fast at first. It may be tempting, especially if you already kind of have some, you know, built up some finger strength and been able to play some stuff. And but the bottom line is, you know, you're gonna gradually build up speed. At first, you're gonna focus on the accuracy and the clarity, even if you feel like, you know, you already maybe kind of can do it well. If you haven't done this consistently, just try doing it slow at first. Maybe you need to go slower than this, especially in the beginning. Try to just upstroke, downstroke, upstroke, downstroke, upstroke, downstroke, upstroke. Alright, now at the last note there. This isn't a particular key or scale. This is just doing 1, 2, 3, 4, just to build up some finger speed and strength, right? Now we're going to go backwards. So I'm going to go ahead and go. Upstroke, downstroke, upstroke, downstroke, upstroke, downstroke, up, down, up, down. So we could do that maybe 2, 3, 4, even 5 times, just to really build up this synchronicity in our head. Maybe do it to a metronome, right? So you're doing an exact timing, and you're getting your ear and your subconscious inner ear, if you will, in tune to a certain timing while you're doing it, right? So use a metronome if you have one. All right, so you see the speed I'm going here. It's kind of like a medium slow speed, right? But like I said, if you're starting out, don't feel bad if you're doing it slower than that. If you're just barely trying to, you know, if you're like barely touching the guitar for the first time or something, maybe you barely got a guitar and you're barely learning it, right? Whatever, that's fine. You'll get better. Trust me. Just keep doing it a few times, right? So now I'm going to go ahead and like maybe I'll do it that couple times slower, and then maybe I'll speed it up a little bit. Right, I could do like double time or just a little faster, right? Just feel it out, or use a metronome and don't go too, try not to, you know, you might end up wanting to speed up if you're more experienced. Try to keep it at the same speed throughout, right? Really is what you want to do, right? So if you have a metronome, you can do that more specifically, and you're keeping the same exact tempo throughout, right? So that way you're developing a good sense of timing, right? But you're also maybe even hum along with the notes to get a sense of each note. Maybe you don't know the names of the notes. That's fine. Just try to match a note. This E, this F. This is an F note right here, right? At first, maybe you haven't never done that. It might be like, wow, you're way off, whatever. Just keep practicing. Try to imagine the note in your mind. Try to emulate it. Hum that exact note. F, right? G. So I'm like, you know, So that's another thing you can do to practice to really help develop your ear and matching tones, which is important if you want to learn songs by ear. Practice doing that, right? Practice matching a note with the humming in your voice, even if you're not a vocalist, right? Just for the sake of really developing your ear, right? A. You do it a few times, you get really keyed in on the note, right? You can develop an inner ear and an inner sense of maybe that particular note. Maybe you can just kind of hum an E note off the top of the cuff because you kind of memorize where it's at in your vocal registry, right? When you're humming the note. E note. So this is something more for matching tones and like learning songs by ear. So if you're familiar with that, you probably have an idea. But like even if you've maybe pretty good at it to some degree, maybe you've never done this one little simple exercise. Just try it, right? Trust me, if you do it a few times, you're gonna really hone in your ear. You'll be able to tell when something's out of tune better, right? You'll be able to wait a minute. This note's not right in tune. You'll be able to tell easier when you do that more, right? But anyway, like I said, taking these 1, 2, 3, 4 exercise, right? We're starting out slow, mainly the accuracy, clarity, trying to really fret the note properly. Moving a little faster now, right? Doing it up and down, or down and then up the fretboard. So you practice, you get it a little bit better doing it. Don't expect to be getting it all, moving this much faster in a session or two or whatever. Expect to come back and practice and get tighter and get to where you're more clear, especially as a beginner. Don't feel bad about that, right? So anyway, just going over here again, like gradually get more advanced. You're right. Now you're moving a little faster with the clarity. And like I said, going back and doing them slow again too. Don't forget how important that is to have good timing, especially over periods of time, not just a short period of time, like short spaced notes, but notes that might be over a longer period of time, and just being able to recognize timing in different ways, right? So, but let me go a little bit faster maybe. This may look, if you're a beginner, this may look like, that's too much to get like that, even that level of clarity, which is not, even that perfect, but you kind of doing it a little faster. Once you get clearer and you feel like you're doing it at the slower speed, pretty accurate and clear, you start doing it faster, right? And you keep gradually doing it faster. Maybe, like I said, go half time, double time, and you can kind of sense that if you're doing it a few times. So, like I said, it might go. Double time. Right, and then you could do like triple time. Like I said, you don't have to move at those exact speeds, right? You might use a metronome and start out like really slow and then do double time from that. And then triple time from that, and get used to doing that right now. You get more clear about it, really practicing it a lot. Then you might not be able to start out on this lower end of the neck here. You might need to go up here higher where the frets are more narrow, right? So you can kind of just start out in something a little easier to do there and then move down the neck to build up to this. Or maybe you want to start out with this kind of early on, but I recommend making sure you can handle any major stretches. Don't do too much at a time, especially at first when you don't know your limits. You don't want to hurt, like the muscle. It's not like it's real easy to do, but I'm just saying if someone who plays for a long time and they could strain, their wrist a little bit in some way. You don't want to do that. So, but like I said, just doing this one simple exercise. Maybe start out here on this first fret, through fourth fret on each string, and then move up to the next one. I'm not doing an exact timing there per se, but you get the idea. Right? try to keep timing for a few. Because if you're just playing by yourself and not making a video or something, you can probably sit there and do a couple to a few in a row and just try to keep them at a steady time, right? That way you get better with that. But this is just one exercise right here that's real simple. Like I say, we're not doing nothing real fancy in terms of, but the idea is here to just really get good at picking clear notes. Right? Getting a little more efficient, just getting a good cadence, which I'm not really doing that great right now per se, but you get the idea, right? Do a lot of that. So that's one exercise, right? Now, and another thing you can do here, like if you take that here, you can kind of just try to do all kinds of variations with that as well. So it's not like you have to do just 1, 2, 3, 4. Maybe you want to start out going backwards, going down, and then go forward, going up, right? Kind of gives it a slight twist. Maybe you want to go 1, 2, 4, 3, and do that on every string. 1, 2, 4, 3, 1, 2, 4, 3, 1, 2, 4, 3, 1, 2, 4, 3, 1, 2, 4, 3, 1, 2, 4, 3. Right? So that's one thing you could try. Or 1, 4, 2, 3. Right? So you try a few different variations there too, and practice doing it through to where you can do it fluid, right? And even kind of fast, but start out slow at first. If I'm doing that 1, 2, 4, 3, for example, at first I'm just going to do it to where I really feel like I know the motions I'm going to be going through. Right? That way I can do it quicker with the same accuracy, if that makes sense. So that's just, a couple variations that you can do on that. And you can think of probably some different exercises you could do. Another thing is practicing like some hammer-on type trills with your fingers. So let's say we go here on the 3rd fret, really any fret, whatever, but just staying on the 3rd fret here, which is a G note on this particular string. And just, this is a thicker string, so maybe you can start out in the middle or some other string or whatever. Try it where it's comfortable at first, maybe, and then move around and get better. But just doing a hammer on, maybe with the 1st finger and the 2nd finger. And then even trying to keep it going without necessarily having to pick it. You can kind of, or pick it every couple times or a few times. But really trying to do a hammer on and even clawing at the string as you press down to keep it going. Right? Maybe I need to do the next fret up. I'm trying to do a hammer on the whole step away. Maybe it's going. Practice doing that a few times to get kind of accurate with it. Pinky might be a bit harder, but still. Practice doing it a few times. It might, strain your wrist a little bit at first. Go ahead and take a break. Come back and try it again a couple of few times. Repetition, right? Repetition, right? So try to get a good, accurate. On the electric guitar, you'll really hear it like ring out more typically, depending on your settings. You get better at it just trying it a few times, even. Trying to just pick it a couple times or once. Maybe a stretch one. It's a little bit of a stretch, but there might be a riff that could call for something like that, or if you have to do it, you have to stretch to do it up here anyway. If you wanted to try something like that, like there's 2 steps away from each other, or 5 frets. Kind of hard to do that, but if you practice a lot, you can, especially down here, not as hard. And try to get it to where you got control. Right? As much as you can. I'm not saying I'm perfect about it, but try doing this a few times. Do the 1, 2, 3, 4. Like you don't know all the scales or keys and all that stuff yet, but trust me, just do these exercises here a few times. all of a sudden tones will start coming. You'll start humming to tones, start matching them more while you're doing some of these exercises. You start picking better because you're doing it a bunch of times. Just do a bunch of them, maybe not like a ton, maybe not how much you want. If you want to practice all day and really like try to master the guitar, then by all means do it like an hour or two, come back to it, whatever. Or, maybe you just need to do a little 10-minute session at first, or even just 5 minutes, or just doing it 5 times through or something like that. And then come back and try it a couple times later in the day. Right, you'll feel a little bit more comfortable. Be like, oh, okay, I know that pattern or that exercise or whatever it is, right? So, like I said, this is just a couple of exercises, and encourage checking out any of my other videos to see maybe some other exercises and tips for understanding the fretboard a little bit better, and learn how to play songs by ear and match tones, and some chord structure and ideas. So, and how to formulate and derive notes and chords on the fretboard, right? But certainly appreciate you watching. I certainly welcome any likes or subscriptions, of course, but main thing here is that hopefully you picked up something from this, and maybe you try these exercises. If you've done this real simple exercise, you might have already thought about them. Maybe you just haven't. Maybe you just need to refresh and go back and do them again or more in depth to really get your speed and dexterity up. I'm not really doing it like great right there, but get to where do it a bunch of times to really practice it. You'll get more fluid and it'll become more like second nature. So anyway, thank you for listening to this video. Like I said, check out my other videos for some brief tips, and then maybe some more in-depth going into like the different notes on the fretboard and what chords, where you can play all the different chords on the fretboard a bit, in terms of being able to play, a bunch of different chords with just a couple of simple key pieces of information, right? That's in one of my other videos. So thanks for listening for the moment, but let me know if you try these exercises, and maybe you have some other particular exercises you'd like to maybe leave in the comments, or, let me know what you like to do to build dexterity. Now, there's much more than this. This is just to help you get started or refreshed. Thanks for listening in. Till next time.